In Lesson 5, we talked about the value of diversity to the world. In Lesson 6, we want to bring that down to the classroom level. We want to talk about why diversity is valuable in our classroom. So here what we do is we do 2 activities with the students. The first we're going to do in homogeneous groups and the second in heterogeneous groups. So the first activity, we ask the students to get together according to their strengths. So the students who are visual spatial get together, the students who are kinesthetic get together. Now, of course, we all have a bar graph and we're not only one thing, but we ask them to choose what they believe is their greatest strength and get together into a group. We then give the students an assignment, and that assignment can be on a curricular topic. So I will say to the students, show me what you know about ecosystems, for instance. And the students, I tell them they have to use at least 2 intelligences in order to do that. But they can choose which 2. So they could draw and write, they could create a song and dance, they could do whatever they want as long as they use at least 2 intelligences to show what they know about ecosystems. This plays a dual role for me as a teacher. It allows me to get some formative assessment about a topic that I'm going to be teaching this term, and at the same time it allows me to have the students have this experience. So they work in their groups, they create their projects, and afterwards we get together and we talk about how did it feel to work with people of like mind, of like style to you. And generally the students will come to understand that, well, it was great because we all knew what we wanted to do, we all wanted to draw, but then it was difficult to divide up the labor because everybody wanted to draw and nobody wanted to do the writing or things along those lines. In the second project, I'll choose another topic, perhaps my social studies topic or something along those lines, and say to the students, show me what you know about ancient Greece, and you have to use at least 2 intelligences, but this time they are in mixed groups, so they're in groups who have different learning styles and intelligences. And we have the students complete that project and then again come together to talk about, so what were the pros and cons of working with people who had different learning preferences than you? And again, we talk about, well, it was harder for us to decide what we wanted to do, but then it was easier to divide up the labor because I could do the drawing and he could do the writing and so on. We want to have that discussion with students to talk about that in most careers that we do, we are sometimes working with people of like style, like mind, similar background knowledge, and sometimes working with people of very different styles. So for instance, I will often use the example of a software company with students, and I'll say, if you are designing a video game, there's going to be a department with the programmers, there's going to be a department with the graphic designers, there's going to be a department who are the PR, sales, and marketing people. And so some days when you go to work, you're going to be working with other graphic designers, in other words, other visual spatial people. But on other days, you're going to have to meet with the programmers because the game is not going to be good if the graphics don't match up with the program. And so you're going to have to communicate with people who have a very different skill set than you. So depending on the task, there are times where it's useful to have a partner who has the same learning style as you. And there are other tasks where it would be great to have a partner who has a complementary skill set. So for instance, I had a student named Jazz. Now Jazz was a student with a very severe learning disability. He struggled with reading and writing significantly, but he was a phenomenal artist. The kids liked Jazz, but nobody wanted to be his partner because they thought of it, if you're his partner, you have to do all the work. So when we talked through this program, one of the things I said to the students was, if I was choosing a partner in this class, I would choose Jazz. And they were all surprised, including Jazz. And I said, well, I'm good at reading and writing, so I could do the writing part. But I'm not good at drawing or illustrating or creating visual representations. And so if Jazz was my partner, between the 2 of us, we would have the best project. And you could see the students kind of wrapping their heads around that idea. And gradually then, of course, the next time when I said to the students we're going to be getting into groups, you heard, Jazz, do you want to be in our group? And now a student who had previously been excluded from the community was being included because we were valuing what he could contribute as opposed to making everything focused on that verbal linguistic piece. And that's part of our goal here, is to help students recognize when diversity is actually a benefit, and choosing partners, working in groups with different skill sets and different perspectives is actually of benefit to you. So that's the goal of that lesson. In lesson 7, we move on to goal setting. Now, it's interesting because many students in lesson 7 think of goal setting as an intrapersonal activity. It's about my goals for myself. And so you might wonder why it's not in the first half of the program that is about self-concept. But this is one of the things that I came to realize that we as teachers often do that's really rather silly. We ask students what they want to get better at, which implies that you only set goals in areas of challenge. You don't set goals in areas of strength. And first of all, that's not true. Most of us in our careers are working in what we're good at, and our goals are related to developing our talents, not related to developing the things we're not good at. So there's a place for talent development in our schools. If someone had said to Mozart, you know what, you're good enough at music, we need to work on your spelling, we'd have no Mozart. We need to be developing students' strengths and abilities, as well as the things that are challenging for them. So we're going to start with goal setting in our strengths. That, it's true, is more of an intrapersonal activity, because within my strength, I can work towards something independently. However, we're also going to now set goals in our challenge areas. So we're going to recognize the things that are challenging for us. We want students to learn how to persevere through a challenge, but we want to do that in the context of a supportive environment. And in order for students to create a goal in your challenge area, by definition, you're going to need support. Because if you could do it by yourself, you would have done it already. So if you're creating goals in the challenge area, then that is actually a community goal. It is not an intra goal, because you're going to need the support of your community. So the goal setting piece that we do is I first ask students to pick one of their strengths. It does not have to be a school-based strength. It could be hockey, right? Because I'm more interested in teaching the process of goal setting than I am in the specific goal the students set. So I ask the students to set a goal in their strength area, and if I'm good at hockey, that's fine. What do you want to get better at? Your stick handling, your skating, what part of what you do you want to improve? And how are you going to do that? And ask the students to create a plan for that. Then I ask the students to look at their bar graph and think about what are the things that are challenging for them. Within our challenges, we also have to look at what matters to us. Because if we don't care that we're not good at that, we're not going to work on it. So students have to choose something that they really wish they could do or wish they could get better at, so that there's motivation for them to actually persevere through that challenge. So I ask students to choose something they really wish they could get better at. And then to develop a plan that involves the community. So who do you need to support you? How would that support happen? What do you need from the community in order to be able to achieve that goal? Once the students have created those plans, we come back into circle. And once again, we have the students share now what our goals are. And so as we go around the circle, I ask students, and what is your goal? They tell us their strength goal, and then they tell us their challenge goal. And then I say to them, and how can we support you? As the teacher, I'm sending the message to the students that the expectation is we will support each other with our goals. And it has to be spoken, because the community can't support you if they don't know that that's a goal of yours. So we're creating a trusting space in which we are being willing to say, this is what I wish for. It's a very powerful moment in the building of community. And you have to, as a teacher, be prepared for the kinds of things students will say. Because some students will do the kind of standard, I want to get better at math, I want to get better at reading, and those types of things. But sometimes you will get much deeper and actually more emotional and more vulnerable kinds of goals. So for instance, one of my students who had been in significant difficulty with his behavior, when we came to him said, I would like, my goal is to not get suspended this year. And when I then asked him the same prompt I asked everyone else, and how can we support you in that? He shrugged, because he really didn't know how to stop the behaviors that happened for him. He had issues with impulsivity. It was difficult for him to really have a sense of how it could be controlled or managed. And so what the community had to do that brainstorm. We had a discussion right there with him there about, well, what is it that gets him in trouble? When does that happen? Where does that happen? As his friends, how could you help to support him to get him out of those situations? So it's a community conversation about how we can support each other. This builds a tremendous team in your classroom. It's incredibly powerful to watch then how the kids can come together to support each other. But I am also sending a very clear message as the teacher that that is the expectation. The expectation is that we will support each other. As we get through that goal-setting piece then, we've now begun to create that teamwork. I believe that learning should be a team sport. We don't need to bell curve students. There's not only 3 A's available to the kids, so there's no reason our kids can't put their heads together to try to master the curriculum, to try to grow and develop their knowledge and their skills. And I'm trying to create that sense of team in which the kids will work together to reach their goals and to master the curriculum as we work our way through it.